Good afternoon and welcome back to the Celluloid History Life is a Mystery channel. My name is Dan Rowlands. A very warm welcome and thanks for joining me this evening. As usual, a special welcome to fans of the Kildares, Rebecca Fishpond, Open Up, and not forgetting Emergency Exit. Yes, here we are again. Back by popular demand. Wait a minute, where's my mic stand? The channel that boldly goes where other current affairs and politics channels fear to tread. Increasingly, it looks like I'm in competition with the 6 o'clock news as well, so yeah, I'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, a bit of a late one tonight. A bit of a sort of extended conflab with the stylist. They're doing quite a good job. I think they've been in situ now for getting on for a couple of months. Do checks go with stripes and all that stuff, you know. Yeah, hope everyone's retinas can handle the apparel, you know. Anyway, yeah, a few things to talk about today. Prime Minister's questions time. Prime Minister's question time. Prime Minister's questions today in Parliament. Yes, and a daily politics program on the Daily Politics Live program on the BBC to precede Prime Minister's questions. Yeah, just to confirm, me and the production team have settled on ad hoc, laid back format for the for the show, for the channel, for the Celluloid History Life is a Mystery channel. So yeah, as I said yesterday, in true Celluloid History channel spirit, I've got no idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm joking, of course. Yeah, I've got quite a few things noted down. Guests on the show today, guests on the pre BBC Daily Politics Prime Minister's Questions show with Vicky Young, Alex Ballinger, Labour MP, Daisy Cooper, Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Emily Sheffield, non-specified journalist and broadcaster. That could mean anything, couldn't it? Aren't we all? You know. Anyway, they also had at one point they had a lady called Caitlin Boswell from Tax Justice UK. That's an organisation that kind of works on and researches, ways to improve the UK tax system, basically, and yeah, sort of, that's their speciality, the UK tax system. There was also another visitor towards the end of the show. What was his name? He's from Ipsos, he was, that polling company. Kieran Pedley, Research Director of Public Affairs at Ipsos. I don't know, there's a interesting job in politics, I dare say. Yeah, they're one of the main companies, and that poll the electorate, aren't they? I believe. Yeah, so let's get a bit more specific about some stuff to talk about. I mean, I'll get on to talking about the actual Prime Minister's questions. Probably keep it to less than half an hour if I can, or if it goes over, not much over. Too many notes for half an hour, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, there's one interesting story near the start of the show. South Cambridgeshire Council apparently have been working a 4-day week. Many of their staff have been working a 4-day week. It's reported that South Cambridgeshire Council, as a result of this measure, have saved £400,000 due to the fact they have no longer got to shell out wages for agency staff. But yeah, that was quite an interesting discussion they had about that, because they've you know, that lady Emily Sheffield, a non-specified journalist and broadcaster, she was, as I touched on yesterday, she was one of these political commentators who was very fond of sort of claiming that she knows what the people think every 5 minutes. You know, people don't like South Cambridgeshire County Council. People don't like the idea of people working a full 4-day week if they've got to work a 5-day week. People don't like this, that, and the, you know, there's a lot of it about, isn't there, in current affairs media. So she was saying that people don't like the fact people don't like the fact they've got to work 37.5 hours a week for five days a week to pay their taxes in order to pay South Cambridgeshire County Council staff to work a 4-day week. I think the idea she was the idea she was getting at was that, you know, I mean, I suppose you could argue the council aren't directly the government, are they? But they're sort of, I suppose they are indirectly, aren't they? They're, you know, the council are seen as the establishment, so to speak. And so Emily Sheffield's point was that people do not want to be working 5 days a week when, you know, the people work, the system, the staff that are working for the system are only working 4 days a week, and not only that, the working people are paying taxes in order to pay them, you know, to pay the governmental representative people. And I know what the people think, you know. Anyway, you get there. Yeah, I won't over egg that particular pudding, but it is quite irritating when all and sundry political people of all persuasions claim to know what the people think, you know. Of course I know what the people think, but you get the point. I suppose it's sort of arguably part of the game of politics is, I suppose, to be fair, it is purporting to know what the people think in a sense, but can be annoying when people sort of constantly claim that, you know. Anyway, let's get on some more points before I go to Ronnie Corbett on the whole thing. Yes, Emily Sheffield was a slightly irritating commentator. I did warm to some of her points, but she was sort of giving herself away as being part of this oft spoken of media and or political class. The reason being, I thought, was at one point, I remember near the start of the show, she claimed to have recently been dealing with a very serious problem in Westminster. And so I know what I'm talking about, sort of thing, you know. She didn't say what the very serious problem in Westminster was. I mean, you know, I know if you, what, the government? I mean, you know, I mean, that's probably quite generalised, isn't it? To say, but she didn't specify. The point is, she didn't specify what the very serious problem was in Westminster. She just wanted to drop it in there that she'd been working on a very serious problem in Westminster, you know, for the benefit of the viewers. And another thing she claimed later on in the show, when they got onto the golden egg topic of Prince Andrew and sex, you know, Prince Andrew's sex scandal. was that I was once at a dinner and I sat next to Harvey Weinstein, and you know, so there was she didn't want anybody to be under any illusion that she was, you know, part of the so-called media and political class kind of thing. But she did. I mean, she wasn't. I mean, to be fair to the lady, she wasn't all bad, you know. But oh, and also she sort of gave away the fact that she had a husband who she dropped that in as well. Actually, yeah, her husband has dealings with buying properties where restaurant businesses are you know, buying properties in order to start restaurant businesses. So she sort of dropped that one in, you know, so yeah, go Emily Sheffield, you know, but yeah, she wasn't all bad. Is that part of the game, isn't it? Politics and media, you've got to be. You can't win if you're not in the ring, you know. But personally, I don't really like demonising people, you know. You know, isn't. I don't think it's always. I don't think it's really necessary. That particular. I mean, I think some people in politics and media utilise demonisation of stuff, topics, people in order to improve their clicks, ratings, popularity, you know, delete as applicable, you know. But anyway, yeah, I'm going a bit Ronnie Corbett today, but let's go on to. So they started off with that 4-day week thing, yeah. Story, Cambridgeshire Council, causing a bit of a stink, you know. Will they have to go back to a 5-day week? You know, watch this space. What else can we talk about before where are we? 12 minutes. Hope you enjoy your tea tonight, whatever you're having for your tea. I hope your week's going well. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll dive straight into some of the actual Prime Minister's questions, and then maybe make, you know, 2 or 3 more points after that, and then we'll, you know, wrap it up for the night. Actually, talking about 4-day weeks, the Celluloid History Channel works a 4-day week currently, you know, so kudos Cambridgeshire County Council, you know. In the age of the robots, I think it might have to be, you know, considered as far as the labour force is concerned going forwards. Yeah, I mean, Prime Minister's questions started out talking about the serious storm in Jamaica. There's a lot of what's the word? Speculation at the moment that I think the budget's at the end of November, if I'm correct. Rachel Reeves's budget. There's a lot of speculation that Labour are going to break their manifesto pledges, isn't there? You know, and they're going to, you know, basically raise taxes, to cut a long story short. I think I've made this point on previous bulletins that they do like to go on about tax, don't they? And it's always seen as a, you know, the media tend to see tax as a topic that the public are always going to be against, you know. That's the way it seems to me. But I think it's always important to remember that, you know, what's the end goal of politics is what? Quality of life, isn't it, really? And high taxes or raising taxes doesn't necessarily mean isn't necessarily a bad thing if it raises everybody's quality of life, is it? You know, if it improves roads and transport, stuff like that, you know. But a lot of media outlets like to play it is they always seem to sort of think it's a surefire winner for their readers or viewers, you might say these days, increasingly, smartphone gazers, or whatever we are these days. They think it's a safe bet, don't they? That everybody hates tax, But if you had like, say, Sweden's famous, isn't it, for and one or two other Scandinavian countries, I think, or Europe, European countries, famous for having quite successful governments with social democratic leaning, where public services such as transport and stuff, I think health and all that, all the essential stuff runs quite well, thank you very much, But the UK press, and probably the American press as well, it's the idea of a sort of tax system that benefits everybody and makes everybody's life better is seen as it's a rarity to be in favour of it, to be quite frank, seen as it's certainly not a communist idea, is it? But anyway, I'm moving on. But that, what they're like. The sort of the Trumpian sort of, what's the word? The Trumpian sort of vibe is kind of, bunch of cammies. If you want, a system that works for all Americans. Who are these cammies? Sort of, it's ridiculous, really. It's got nothing to do with communism, is it, really? But I'm not. By the way, I'm not in favour of communism. just thought I'd better throw that one in there, Yeah, to be honest with you, I made the point yesterday that, to my mind, the Conservative Party under Kimi Badenoch, God bless the lady, that they it's like, to my mind, I know that Reform are way ahead in the polls, but it's almost like they have the Tory party sat opposite in opposition at the moment. It's almost like they've got the demeanour of like a university sit-down protest in a library, and it's like the government are the head honchos, the government of the university chancellor and their board, that's the vibe I got. Obviously I might be biased because I'm a Labour voter, but I found it quite, to be honest with you, I found it quite heartening watching Prime Minister's questions today, because from where I was sitting, it looked like the government was more in control, more in charge than they're oft being depicted. But that's kind of par for the course in British current affairs and media. I've made the point quite a few times on the Celluloid History channel. Is there any such thing as left-wing politics, so to speak? Left-wing media, so to speak. But certainly, without straying off the point, one of the things that you see bandied around by sort of moderates, people whose political politics are centre or centre-left or left, is that the UK media is predominantly right-wing. You're headed up by the likes of the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph, the Times, and of course these are all famous UK newspaper titles that are going to be, as we speak, are sort of losing influence, as we speak. I can only presume they're all still, they've all still got an online presence. I'm sure they've still got a good few thousand subscribers, but the point, straying off point a little bit, aren't I? That my original point was that it looked to me as though Starmer's government's more in control than is often as being oft depicted in media. From where I was sitting watching Prime Minister's questions, I'm not saying that you know, Labour have got nothing to worry about when it comes to the next general election. I'm sure they have, but the Tories to me just look like, I mean, I'm sure they would beg to differ, but they, like I say, I got a vibe off them, like sort of like a university students in a sit-down protest, and the government of the grown-ups, if you like. Really, that's the vibe I got. But I'm probably a little bit biased. But what have I got here? Another note I made. Amity Gate crashes at a marquee party. I've put here. Maybe that's I don't know. Maybe that's listening to too many early Marillion albums. Maybe come up with that one. But yeah, Amity Gate crashes at a marquee party. There you go. Copyright 29th of October 2005. So yeah, yeah, I mean, I suppose, like I said yesterday, it was a bit of a sort of quite a good demonstration again today. Prime Minister's questions and the BBC Politics show, quite a good general illustration of sort of traditional, the way, you know, it was quite a good sort of overall representation of British politics, both traditionally and, well, I suppose that's what it's there for, isn't it? Basically, I'm saying that the BBC Politics programme did its job quite well, and Prime Minister's questions was interesting, you know. Yeah, because I mean, this bit. One thing I find interesting is this idea that Reform are so far ahead in the polls, and yet they've only got 5 MPs, haven't they? You know. I'm not sure how that. You know, that's. They're certainly going to need a lot more MPs than that, aren't they? If they're gonna. Well, I think, to be honest with you, they've been a bit invisible on as far as BBC coverage goes lately, and there has been, to be fair, probably quite a lot of anti-reform shtick, especially around this Sarah Potchin business, where she's used clumsy language regarding, you know, ethnicity. Although I made the point yesterday that could almost have been, you know, was it all some master plan by some member of Reform in the back room stroking a white cat, you know? But yeah, reforms are sort of yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Reform are way ahead in the normal polls, such as the one Ipsos do. You know, the polling company that fella I mentioned works for. What was his name? Kieran Pedley. But interestingly, what this Kieran Pedley fella from Ipsos had to say was, when you do a comparison with the general British public about who they would actually want as next Prime Minister between Starmer and Farage, you know, just like a straight choice of them two, forget about the other parties, which is like another angle, isn't it, of looking at it. It's a lot closer, basically. He said that in September the figures were 38% wanted Starmer, would keep Starmer as Prime Minister, and 35% wanted Farage as Prime Minister. Now it's in October. In October now, it's 36% would keep Starmer, you know, want Starmer as next Prime Minister, and 39% want Farage. So Farage is 3% ahead, and he was 3% behind in September, according to that. Yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it? That's more. So basically, when you cut out all the other parties, your Lib Dems, your Greens, your Plaid, your SNP. Probably missed someone out there. You can, you know, Conservatives, Reform's the other one, isn't it? You cut out all the other political parties, which is the way they normally do the polling, isn't it? Reform are less miles ahead, you know, in terms of when it's just between Starmer and Farage, things are a lot closer. So I suppose Starmer needs to take advantage of that fact, really, doesn't he? I mean, Emily Sheffield. Although I was having a bit of a moan about her at the start of the show, but she was making a fairly valid point. I thought that she thinks that Starmer's got nothing to lose by getting a lot more radical because he excuse me because he's behind in the polls, you know. And it's either get more radical or potentially lose the next election, basically, is the point she's making, you know. There was quite a lot of talk today on BBC of Labour needing to be much more bold when it comes to reformation of the tax system, and just, you know, they've got nothing to lose by being more radical, sort of thing, you know. And I think Emily Sheffield was even using the phrase, you know, this is an ideal opportunity for sort of Starmer to affect some change, you know. I mean, I got the impression that her actual personal politics were right of centre, actually. But to be fair to the lady, she was outlining that Starmer's, you know, needs to sort of seize the moment, kind of thing, you know. Mind you, developing that point, Starmer gets accused of being right of centre as well, doesn't he? Which is a subject for another video, probably. But yeah, so everything's febrile and up in the air, you know. To use the well, I think the word febrile's been bandied around quite a bit in recent months, you know, meaning feverish. Politics is feverish at the moment. UK politics is feverish. Daisy Cooper from the Lib Dems, deputy leader of the Lib Dems, in true Lib Dem style, I suppose you could say. She was kind of you know, sitting on the fence a bit, I suppose, might as well call it. There was the lady there in the studio, Caitlin Boswell from Tax Justice UK. She was making the point that taxation reform needs to be bold, and she was making the point that, for example, if you just had a 2% tax on everyone who's got more than £10 million, which I think she claimed comprised the figure of 20,000 people, she was claiming that would raise a healthy sum, you know, to sort of to tackle child poverty, etc., etc. You know, invest in the NHS. I know people say you can't just throw money at it. That's a common cliche, isn't it? You can't just throw money at it, which is probably true. But, yeah, and going back to the point about Daisy Cooper being a bit of a fence sitter, I think she said something like, "I'm all for a broad reform of property tax and stuff," as she said, but she said that we have to be wary. The government needs to be wary of a crude tax grab. You know, I mean, so it's a bit of a fence sitting position. I mean, that subject came up was a bit of a sort of recurring theme. The idea that, you know, don't sort of pussyfoot around with, don't beat around the bush with tax and trying to please everybody, but trying to appease rich, you know, the wealthy by not taxing them too much, and sort of tinkering with things. And actually, also that one interesting thing that came up was apparently there is an organisation in the UK called, I think they're called Patriotic Millionaire. Yeah, there's an organisation called Patriotic Millionaires UK, who, as you can imagine, tax research agencies and stuff have dealings with, you know, because there's this big thing at the moment, isn't there, that you can't tax rich people too much because they all bugger off abroad if you do that. Apparently that was exposed as a bit of a myth by Emily Sheffield. She claimed that was by Caitlin Boswell from Tax Justice UK, she said that's a bit of a myth. In actual fact, the number of millionaires that have left the UK recently is negligible. And then Emily Sheffield, who, as I say, was a bit of a sort of a Starmer sort of not a cheerleader, but she was giving Starmer some encouragement about seizing his moment, in, you know, so to speak, his metaphorical moment, because he's still got 4 years to go, hasn't he, till the election. But she was sort of disagreeing with what Caitlin Boswell from Tax Justice UK was saying, really, because she was saying, well, I know millionaires personally, and they are leaving for foreign shores, you know. So which actually ties in with the fact she was saying that she's once sat next to Harvey Weinstein at a dinner, and what was the first thing? Oh yes, I've recently been dealing with a very serious problem in Westminster, a non-specified one, you know. The mind boggles. Wonder what that was. I mean, I used to live in London. I probably had one or two issues in Westminster, you know, when I was sort of trying to find a McDonald's that was open or something like that, you know. But anyway, yeah, we've gone over the 30-minute mark, so it's time to start wrapping it up. And I wish everybody a good Wednesday night. I hope everyone's week is going well. Prime Minister's questions was interesting. BBC journalism was quite interesting. One thing I'll wrap up the show, but one thing I did notice, this little pet theory of mine I've got, you know, about the media class and or the political class. I think it's more getting quite evident, really, the more I watch. I mean, I'll have to compare some other shows. I occasionally watch ITV, occasionally watch Peston. I find ITV News is kind of sensationalist in a way. It's like, whoa, you know. I mean, the news is generally bad, isn't it? So ITV is kind of like dun dun dun, and that's like a list of sort of dramatic doom mongering, really. But I mean, the BBC is as well, but it's less obvious, sort of thing, you know. Because I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's going to say, you know, life's superb, and not only that, you know, if you meditate every day and practice yoga, you can have a spiritual awakening and get in tune with the eternity and infinity and the cosmic mind. You know, that's never going to be the headline on the news at 10, is it, really? But the point that, anyway, the wider point I was making is, it does seem to be quite evident that there's there is a sort of media clash. You can sort of sense it when you watch BBC Daily Politics. And another thing, I'll have to work on articulate that a bit better in a future show. But you know, that's basically, it's a subject for another show. But another point I wanted to, it'll be a recurring subject, you know, no doubt, on Sally Lloyd History of Life as a Mystery Channel. But another point I wanted to make just before I wrap up is that I've noticed that the subject of immigration is very much a kind of across the board consensus. I mean, it's quite sad in a way, because obviously some of the immigrants that are coming over to the UK might be, for all they know, might be some of the most talented and lovely people in the history of creation. But they're sort of being spoken of, you know, for example, at one point, Emily Sheffield, the unspecified media journalist broadcaster, once said, because apparently they're thinking of housing them in old military barracks or something, aren't the immigrants at the moment? And she was saying, and there's even been talk of you know, of letting them live within the community, and of course that'll be disastrous. She actually said that, and she wasn't pulled up by it. She wasn't pulled up on it by Vicky Young, I noticed. So that sort of implies that immigrants are, you know, can't possibly mingle with the community. I mean, you know, we're British, don't you know? I mean, it's ridiculous, really. I mean, but Having said that, obviously I'm not. I know that I'm not daft. But there does need to be border control. Of course there does, and there does need to be a grip on immigration. But it's just, I've noticed that it's sort of like a cross-party political consensus, as well as it's what they call a folk devil, a media folk devil, isn't it? The idea that all immigrants are criminals and a problem is a myth. Michael Heseltine, the ex-deputy prime minister, was making that point the other day. You know, still going. God bless him. Anyway, I don't want to go too far over. So it's 35 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap this up. So everybody have a good night. Mr. T is currently in a mobile prison because we've had a few the channel, you know, the agency that we use. I've been at a few sort of industrial action issues, but I think he's going to be back. I say prison. I mean, basically we're holding him to ransom, and what the production team and the execs, you know, have had to do is temporarily house Mr. T in temporary accommodation. It's not really prison. I've used the wrong term there, but anyway, like I say, he's being treated well. He's probably got Stockholm syndrome, and the African elephant is doing okay. And what's that? He's only. I think someone's trying to tell me that Mr. T's on his way. Mr. T's back tonight. Back tonight. Apparently, he's back anyway. But I'm gonna have to sign off. He's back, but I'm gonna have to sign off. So I think the channel will be back tomorrow. Last day of the 4-day week tomorrow. So everybody look after yourselves. Enjoy your internet shenanigans. Enjoy your cyberspace carryings on. Enjoy your politics. Enjoy your current affairs. And wishing everybody well. Have a good night, and we'll be back tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Don't give me no back talk, sucker. Don't give me no back talk, sucker. Don't give me no back talk.